Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this video today we'll be going over the Stamina Dragonknight for Elsweyr. Now, I have 64 points into Stamina, my max health is 16.1, my max stamina is 32.3, my stamina recovery is 1.1k, weapon damage is 3.7, and weapon critical is 56.2%. I have boon I'm running is the Thief, and I'm using Dubious Cam More. Now, champion points. Click on it. I have 23 into Warlord, 33 into Sprinter, 64 Tenacity, 64 Mooncalf, 37 Shadow Ward, 49 Tumbling, nothing there, 19 into Physical Weapon Expert, 51 into Master at Arms, 56 into Thermometer, 61 Precise Strike, 19 Piercing, and 64 Mighty. 37 Ironclad, 32 Spell Shield, 30 Medium Armor Focus, 64 Hardy, 64 Elemental Defender, and 43 Quick Recovery. So, sets. The monster set that I'm running on this one is Celine's. It gives Heavy Helmet with Max Stamina, Divines, and then Medium Shoulder Divines with Max Stamina as well. And what Celine does is gives us, one piece gives us Max Stamina, and two piece, when you deal direct melee damage, you have a 15% chance to call on a Primal Spirit that mauls the closest enemy in front of you after 1.3 seconds for 15.7k physical damage. This effect can occur once every 4 seconds. Now that monster set comes from Celine's Web. If you, for whatever reason, don't have it, can't seem to get to drop it. Other monster sets that you can run is Veldreth. It gives you weapon damage when you deal damage. You have a 20% chance to spawn 3 disease spores in front of you after 1 second that deal 13.5k disease damage to the first enemy they hit. This effect can occur once every 9 seconds. You have Storm Fist, which gives you stamina recovery, and when you deal damage, you have a 10% chance to create a Thunder Fist to crush the enemy, dealing 1.9k shock damage every 1 second for 3 seconds to all enemies within 4 meters, and a final 10.4k physical damage when the fist closes. This effect can occur once every 8 seconds. You have Crags, adds physical penetration. When you deal damage, you have a 10% chance to spawn drag limbs that create shockwaves in front of you, dealing 1.7k physical damage every 0.4 seconds for 1.2 seconds. This effect can occur once every 3 seconds. And then you can even go with Valken Scoria. It gives you max health, and when you deal damage with a damage over time effect, you have an 8% chance to summon a meteor that deals 10.6k flame damage to the target and 4.9k flame damage to all other enemies within 5 meters. The effect can occur once every 5 seconds. Valken Scoria is actually really strong on a stam decay due to the fact that all 3 abilities, well, the majority of our abilities that we will be using are all dots. So Valken Scoria will proc quite a bit. So first 5-piece that we're running is Reliquants. We're running all of it on the body, all Divines, all with max stamina. And what this does gives us weapon crit, gives us Minor Slayer, gives us more weapon crit, and your light and heavy attack supply stack of harmful winds to your target for 5 seconds. Harmful winds deal 262 physical damage per stack every 1 second, 20 stacks max. Now, you got a lot. If you're not very good at weaving your abilities, then this is not going to do you really any good at all. So, you can go with a couple of sets. If you want to go for the trial sets with the Minor Slayer, like that's what you want to stick with, you want to make sure you have Minor Slayer on your body, then you can go with, if I can find the copper, that would be lovely. It's medium, there we go, medium trial sets. You can always go with Vicious Serpent, which gives you weapon critical, gives you Minor Slayer, gives you weapon critical, weapon damage, and reduces cost of your stamina abilities by 8%. When an enemy you have recently damaged dies, you restore stamina. You restore 2.1k stamina in a major expedition for 8 seconds, increase your movement speed by 30%. Or you can go with the Tooth of Tooth of whatever that is. Adds weapon damage, gives Minor Slayer at all times, increasing your damage done to dungeon, trial, and arena monsters by 5%. Gives you weapon damage. When you activate a synergy, you gain Major Slayer for 15 seconds, increasing your damage done to dungeon trial monsters by 15%. So this one, or Vicious Serpent, would be the 2 that I would use. War Machine, we don't really have a quick ultimate, so it's not really worth using it, and so that's really it for the sets that will allow us to have Minor Slayer. So the second 5-piece set that we are running is Morok Tong. we're running 2 Bloodthirsty, 1 Infused, all with weapon damage enchant. And then we're running 2 Daggers, 1 Nern, and 1 Sharpened. 1 enchanted with poison damage glyph, and 1 enchanted with absorb stamina enchant. Now what Moral Tongue does, it gives us weapon damage, max stamina, weapon damage. And when you deal direct damage, you cause the enemy to take 10% more damage from all poison damage abilities for 5 seconds. Necromancer has poison damage abilities along with disease damage ability. Nightblades, their poison injections. Warden has their poison injection. On stamina tunes. So every stamina tune has a poison ability, and it's mostly poison injection. But stam DKs and stam necromancers have a ton of poison abilities. Well, DK more so, but necromancers, they have a balance between poison and disease. But they have some hard-hitting poison abilities as well. So this will benefit a lot of people. So it's the reason why we're running Moral Tongue. Now, if you want to go a more selfish set to increase your damage alone, then the Deadly set, or the Deadly Strike set, is another set. It gives you weapon damage, weapon damage, and increase the damage your physical, bleed, poison, and disease damage over time abilities do by 14%. So, this does over 14%, that does 10% more damage for 5 seconds. So, it's up to you. These 2 sets would be the sets that I would run. And even in 4-man content, if you really wanted to, you can run the Scavenging Demise set. Have some fun with this. It does weapon damage, weapon crit, and when you deal critical poison damage to an enemy, summon the Scavenging Maw, who after 2 seconds attacks the enemy, dealing 9.1k poison damage and inflicts minor vulnerability for 15 seconds, and increase their damage taken by 8%. I was using this quite a bit, even on live servers, but a lot of the healers there was running IA, or you had a magic character running IA, so this was was not bad in 4-man content. I actually got to use this quite a bit, but in most trial scenarios, this was just kind of a wasted set spot, or a wasted 5-piece. The extra damage was okay, but the minor vulnerability wasn't really worth anything. So Moral Tongue and the Deadly Strike set would be the 2 sets I would go with. They're all purchasable from the guild traders, so you really don't have to do much farming, but they're all Cyrodiil sets. So if you don't like PvP, you're going to have to purchase them from the guild traders. Where Scavenging Demise comes from Depths of Maltar. Of course, Reliquance comes from Cloud Rest, Selene's Web. So, then on our back bar, we have a Maelstrom Bow infused with a weapon damage enchant. So, onward. Stamina sets. Swamp Raider is a good set. Let's go ahead and look at some Overland sets and some dungeon sets, and we can go through. Let's see what would be useful on a DK and what would not be. So Leviathan, of course, max stamina, weapon crit. It's a good set. It's good to have on any stamina character. Automaton, you're really not going to use because all your damage you're getting poison abilities, and so this won't do nothing for you. Let's see. Viper Sting's not a bad set if you want to run it. It does some poison damage over time. It's not a bad set, but for just getting started out, Viper Sting can definitely do you good. It's not a bad set to have. Pillar of the Nern does quite a bit of physical damage over time, and it does some. When you deal damage, you have a 10% chance to create a fissure underneath the enemy. After 1 second, dealing 2.6k physical damage to all enemies within 2.5 meters and causing them to bleed for an additional 10.6k physical damage over 10 seconds. This effect can occur once every 10 seconds. If you don't have a Maelstrom, Sheer Venom is not bad. Outside of that, you can go Warband as well, and you won't have to use Rearming Trap in your rotation. Widowmaker, if you want to use alchemy poisons, you can always go with this as well. It's not bad. When your alchemy poison fires, you drop a poison spore in front of you that bursts after 1 second, dealing 10.1k poison damage to all enemies within 5 meters. For Overland sets, Defiler is not a bad starting out set. Same thing with Brigand Thorns. Then you have Swamp Raider, like I was saying earlier, is a really good set because all of her damage are poison abilities. So it's going to add 400 weapon damage to your poison abilities. It's going to give you weapon crit, weapon damage, and max stamina. Red Mountain's a good set to run as well. Let's see. Briarheart, Unfathomable Darkness. Let me see. This is Briarheart. Gives you, when you deal critical damage, you have a 10% chance to increase your weapon damage by 449 for 10 seconds. While this effect is active, your critical strikes heal you for 609 health. Unfathomable Darkness. When you deal damage, you have a 10% chance to call a murder of crows around you for 12 seconds. Every 3 seconds, a crow will be sent to peck the closest enemy within 12 meters of you, dealing 5.2k physical damage. This effect can occur once every 15 seconds. Griffin Ferocity is not bad either if you don't have your fire skill leveled up. This gives you minor force and minor expedition. After dealing direct damage, you gain minor force and minor expedition for 3 seconds, increasing your critical damage down by 10%, increase your movement speed by 10%. So that's just a few sets that you can use. Of course, you can always use AY, which is a heavy armor set from Hellraw. You can use those. Because it is a heavy armor set, you would have to use it on your weapons and jewelry. So, but outside of that, that's pretty much the sets. Skills. We're running Venomous Claw. Rake an enemy with your claws, dealing 4.9k poison damage and an additional 15k poison damage over 10 seconds. The poison seeps into the target and deals increased damage the longer it lasts, dealing 12% more damage every 2 seconds. Then we have Noxious Breath. Excel a corrosive blast enemies in front of you, dealing 7.7k poison damage and an additional 11.4k poison damage over 10 seconds. Afflicts an enemy with major fracture, reducing their physical resistance by 5.2k. Then we have Rending Slashes. Slice an enemy with both weapons to cause deep lacerations, dealing 2.8k physical damage. With each weapon, causing them to bleed for an additional 13.8k physical damage over 10 seconds. You also reduce their movement speed by 4%. Rearming Trap. Set a sharpened blade trap at your location, which takes 1.5 seconds to arm and lasts for 1 minute. When triggered, the trap deals 3.2k physical damage and an additional 8.9k physical damage over 6 seconds. Immobilizes the enemy for 6 seconds and grants you minor force, increasing your critical damage by 10%. After being triggered, the trap resets and can be triggered 1 more time. And then Molten Whip. This is a magic ability, but it was changed a little bit, and this is the reason why we just have it on our bar. You're never going to use this ability, but while slotted, whenever you activate a different Ardent Flame ability, you gain a stack of Seething Fury, which increases the damage of your next Molten Whip by 33%, and your weapon is spell damaged by 125 for 5 seconds. This effect can stack up 3 times. Both of these 3 are Ardent Flame abilities. They all come from the same class. So we're going to use those. So, last patch, we were pretty much using Rending Slashes as a spammable. This patch, we're going to be using Venomous Claw as a spammable. Plus, with Morag Tong, it's going to deal more damage on the initial hit. And it's 723 stamina, so it's a very, very inexpensive ability to spam. So that's the reason why we're going to use this. If you want to, you can use Noxious Breath. It's double the cost, but the initial hit is more. This is 4.9. This is 7.7. So it's up to you on which one you want to use. You can spam Noxious Breath, or you can spam Venomous Claw. And then, of course, because we'll be able to get 3 of these off, plus while we cast them on our bar, this will pretty much stay up. Then we're using Flawless Dawnbreaker, or Ultimate on our front bar. Arm yourself in Meridia's Sacred Sword and dispense her Retribution, dealing 12.5k physical damage to enemies in front of you and an additional 14.3 physical damage over 6 seconds. While slotted, your weapon damage is increased by 5%. Back bar, we have Poison Injection. Shoot an arrow coated in Bandera poison at an enemy, dealing 4.9k poison damage and an additional 9.3 poison damage over 10 seconds. The damage over time deals up 260% more damage to enemies under 50% health. Endless Hell. Launch a multitude of arrows into the sky to rain down, dealing 1.2k physical damage to enemies in the target area every 0.5 seconds for 10 seconds. Caltrops, or Razor Caltrops, hurl an exploding ball of caltrops that scatter over the target area, dealing 1.9k physical damage every 1 second and reducing movement speed by 30%. When the ball of caltrops initially explodes, it deals an immediate 5.9k physical damage. Flames of Oblivion. Activate an Aura Flames, which launches a fireball at 2 enemies every 5 seconds, dealing 6.1k flame damage. While slotted, you gain Major Prophecy and Major Savagery, increasing your spell and weapon critical rating by 2.1k. This ability scales with your highest offensive stat. And then we have Vigor on our back bar. Resolving Vigor. Renew your forces, resolving healing yourself for 11.2k health over 5 seconds to nearby allies for 8.7k health over 5 seconds. If you know your healer, you're confident in them, you know they will keep you alive, you can always put Rearming Trap back on the back bar here. because Molten Whip isn't really worth having it on your back bar, because Flames of Oblivion is only something that we're going to cast every 2 rotations, or every second rotation. So, it lasts for 15 seconds, it lasts for 12. Well, actually, yeah, you can start casting it now. Yeah, you cast it on every rotation, so, my bad. Um, Standard Might, call down a battled standard dealing 2.9k flame damage every 1 second for 18 seconds to enemies and apply major defile to them, reducing their healing received and health recovery by 30%. Standing in the area increases your damage done and reduces damage taken by 15%. An ally near the standard can activate the Shackle Synergy, dealing 8.8k flame damage to enemies in the area and mobilizing them for 5 seconds. So the flame damage isn't necessarily that high, but we're doing it more for the 15% increased damage. You do not want to start with this. You want to go through 1 full rotation first and then drop this as you come back through. So rotation really would be Flames of Oblivion, Caltrops, Endless Hell, Poison Injection, Bar Swap, Rearming Trap, Rending Slashes, Noxious Breath, Spam Venomous Claw, usually 2 to 3 times, Bar Swap, Flames of Oblivion, Caltrops, Endless Hell, Poison Injection, and you just repeat. So basically 4 down every rotation. So just 4 down. So I think that pretty much covers. Yeah, if you don't want to do, if you know your healer and you don't want to do that, you can always put Rearming Trap where Vigor is here. You can just slot that in there, or you can slot one of these other abilities here if you want to. That's entirely up to you. And then you can start with Rearming Trap, Flames of Oblivion, Caltrops, and just go on. And then Rearming Trap. But that would be quite a bit. But yeah, I like having Vigor here and just having Rearming Trap on the front bar. You can put it on the back bar if you want, just to increase your damage a little bit more, or you could put this on your back bar. But by the time you get to your front bar, pretty much the stack from this is going to fall off. So, but yeah, that is the Stam DK. I hope you enjoy, and until next time, take care.